guys, welcome to our very first podcast.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Jerry and I are excited to share with you guys a lot of things. Our podcast is going to be mostly about love, which will be couple, it would be family, kids, money, and
business. Right. For us, for those of you that know us, we do have a couple of businesses that, we started from ground zero. And it's really important to, talk about, these three things, at least for us. It's really important when we talk about, love, business, and money. So thank you for joining us. A little bit about myself, for those of you that don't know me, Jerry Briseno. I'm Mexican American, first generation here. I come from humble beginnings. My mom came over when she was really, really young, but the cool thing is I grew up around entrepreneurship, and after high school, I did work a W-2 job, but eventually I wanted to get into entrepreneurship, and we did. I was around, finance, business banking, dealt with a lot of business owners, a lot of business entrepreneurs. And eventually, we started our own business. For one of them is a restaurant, which we still have. And then we got into the mortgage business and real estate. We're around that same circle. So a little bit about me is just, I love to help people. Right now, I currently help people through helping them finance either their first investment, their first home, their second investment, different things of that nature. But in a nutshell, that's who I am. You want to share a little bit about you, Trey?
Yeah. So hi, guys. My name is Tracy Aguirre. A little bit about me. So I am a mom of 3. So I pride myself on not only just being a mom, but just woman empowerment, anything that I can do to show women what is possible is like a big thing that is important to me, just because I was a single mom before I met Jerry, and having to figure out a lot of the things that I had to figure out at a very young age, and having a young child is one of my motivations on showing women what is possible, and what you can do either by yourself or building together. And right now I know we're building together. So we wanted to share a lot about that. But my background, for over, I want to say 15 years, I worked at a bank. So that's why. And Jerry actually also worked at a bank. That's why we named our podcast Unlocking the Vault, because we're going to share with you guys a lot of insight of our own personal experience, but a lot of things that, we see happening as well. But yes, I was in banking for a very long time. I was a branch manager for a very long time, and I led really large teams. So I think doing that has really helped us leverage our strengths in the business now that we have and the businesses that we're building. So we are excited to share with you guys about that. So Jerry, let's start it off.
Nice. So that's a little intro. Today's topic, we're going to keep it about money. Money is a very, very important thing in our life and society. You have different people with different views of money. Some people may say, hey, money is the root of all evil. And some people may say that money is everything. It buys happiness. But the reality is money is important. We need money. The more of it you have, the more you can do good things with, or if you're a bad person, bad things with. But at the end of the day, for us, one of the biggest core things that we want to, focus on in our channel is considering money, because it's a very important thing. And when you think about money, right, then you incorporate your partner. So today, with talking about money, we're going to talk about money and how that incorporates with a relationship, because it's very important.
So one of the comments that I've heard, or even, I get asked is, how do you guys incorporate your money? There's some couples that...
Can we get the clock?
So there's some couples that will have separate accounts, right? And they don't mix things in. Some couples will have separate accounts and they'll have one joint account for their bills, where they use that joint account to transfer enough to cover half of the expenses and then pay their bills. And then there's couples like Jerry and I that and it's been a while because we've been together, it's going to be 12 years next month, man.
Wow.
Together for 10 years and
Beautiful,
engaged for, it's almost going to be 2 years of being engaged. And we actually have all joint accounts. And the money that comes in, we already know the money that's going to come in, what's going to pay what payroll, because we also have employees. So we distribute the money as it comes in and then, go from there. So what thoughts do you have? I know that that's a big topic that, like women are like, okay, well, what would be the best way to do it? Or a guy's point of view. Did you ever think that you were going to have like every account with somebody else? Or how does... No. Unless he has an account that I don't know about, right. That I'm like, okay.
No, so that's a good question. I never really thought of it, right? And I think that's why sometimes we're in situations with couples, right? Maybe you have your own because that's how it's been and we got together and that's boom, and we didn't talk about it because it's weird, right? Because I make more or you make more, or, Yeah. So I never really thought about it. But now that, in hindsight, right, I think, for us, it works really, really well. And I don't think there's that one way.
Yeah.
But the good thing with talking about money and, just even having our own accounts, for us, it allows us to be able to kind of plan together. We know exactly how much is going in and how much is going out. So for us having our money together in our checking account, I mean, that's the easiest thing. Now, in our relationship, you pay you're the one that's, making sure that all the bills are paying it on time. And I know which cards I'm using and, and that's it. I don't have to worry about all of the different payments because you're on top of it. You have a spreadsheet with everything that has to be paid, what day. And I know the stuff when it has to be paid and everything because I have access to it and I can see it. But, there's something new. You're in there, in and out, pulling it out, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because I don't know where I heard it, and I don't know if it was on IG or on the radio, but I heard that recently it's been changed. Before it was always like the husband took care of the finances. They saw the money, they saw the bills, and they took care of it. And it in recent years it changed where the woman takes more of that role, and the husband, whether he goes out and makes the money and then the money comes in and the woman takes care of it. But I think for us, why do you think that the role happened like that, where I'm the one that just takes care of the bills? Like, because it's been a long time.
Yeah. Well,
We've been together for a long time.
You started working at the bank very, very young. You were 18, 19 years old. And I think since you've been there, you've probably always had that spreadsheet. You were always on top of it. Right? When I met her, I had my FICO score was on life support.
Yeah.
I was like at 4. I remember I ran my credit. Even when I applied to go work at the bank, I was like, dang, the only thing I don't got is credit. Right? If I need to have good credit, if I'm going to help people with their finances, I mean, I can sell because I was a salesman. I'm a good person. I'm not going to sell something someone doesn't need. I'm only going to sell things or help them with things that can help them. But what about my credit? So when we ran her credit, I was like at a 454 and I'll never forget it. Which is kind of sad. So I think you took over because you were good with managing your money. I wasn't, right?
Yeah.
So in our situation, I don't have an ego where I have to send the bill. It's my payment, right? To me, it's like, oh, you're good at that? Cool. Take it on. You're really good at it. Let's leverage your strength, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on making money.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think too, it part of it is like, yes, we did meet right away. We trusted each other, but also I have, I had a son during the time when I met you. My son was 3.5. So my priority was making sure that, my son was taken care of. And I think the fact that you were open to, let's build together. And in order to build together, we have to combine and, and grow. So I think that's a big part. But it's crazy that I don't even think we've ever talked about this before, huh?
No, we never have. But one of the things that you said is I was open to it, and part of it was trust, right? And me understanding that you have a child, right? It's not easy to be with somebody that has a kid, right? For many reasons, especially like when we met, I was 24 years old, right? So I needed to trust you that whatever you did, right? You have a child, right? That's at least my perspective. Yeah. And I think that helped a lot. But in finance, you have to trust each other, right? You have to pull your own weight. But I think that's what really helped, no?
Yeah.
Really good, man.
So,
we'll get some brownie points over
we're getting
here.
into some hardcore stuff. But I know that one of the things that we want to talk about is we want people to see the real. We want people to see the raw, like not just a show. Like we want people to see not only our wins, but also our struggles and our losses that we learn from.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest ones, and I know for me, like I always say, the restaurant, like it's like one of my biggest headaches. Not because I hate the restaurant, but more because of just everything that we had to go through and we continue to go through to build this business. So I know the restaurant industry, there's so much money that you have to put in the beginning, right? To build a business, especially a business like that. So when we opened the restaurant, without getting into like the restaurant so much, but like let's get into like the financing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
How did you first? Because in the beginning it was more you that took it on. Yeah. How did you first get into financing the restaurant? Did you have money for it, or how did you do it?
Nah. So, great question. Yeah, whenever you're looking to start a business, and some of the reasons why a lot of people do not start a business is because it takes money, right? And yes, if you look into a restaurant has a really high fail rate. 90% of people restaurants fail the first 5 years. So it's not an easy industry and it requires a lot more money. And in my mind, I'm the type of person that feels that if someone can do it, then so can I, right? I just have to look to see what they did so I can do it, but I'm going to figure it out. And in this situation, there was an opportunity where all I had to put is a little bit of money that I didn't have, right? But by that point in time, my FICO score was in the 700s. And I said, hey, well, I can leverage, right? Let me leverage my good name. Let me take out some loans, right? Because they know I'm good for it. That way I can invest it into this restaurant. So that's, I took the money out, right? It didn't work out with the partnership immediately and we bailed out and then we went off on our own. But the biggest
those loans stayed there, like a debt?
So yeah, it was basically a debt that I took out. I set up an LLC, right? If you want to get it like more in depth, and we'll talk more about it, on another off, because there's so many layers to this. But essentially, I leveraged my good name, my credit, and that's why it's important. When you talk about money, right? Money isn't just the cash that you have in your hand, mm-hmm. right? Money is you being able to show somebody, aka the banks, right, that you're good for what you're gonna borrow. Yeah. Right. And the better you are, right, by managing your money correctly, paying your things on time, having a strong credit, then the more they'll lend to you. And in some cases, you can get 0% financing. My case, it was a lot higher than 0%. But again, for us, it was, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my name out there, my money, and, my effort to pick this business up.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit more, because I got to see and witness, a lot of it firsthand. And this was before you and I went into partnership for the restaurant. But at that time, you mentioned that it didn't work out and that it failed. And I remember seeing you like at a very low point. At that time, we were in our home that we had purchased, and you would spend a lot of time in the garage, like trying to come up with ideas and trying to like grow this. Hey, I told you I wasn't going to share water. Like you should have got your own.
If we can share our money, we can share water.
Okay. But
it's like the Honda commercial.
You like completely took me off my thought. But it was a low point, right? So how did you feel? Like, what was it that made you feel that way or get to that point? Like, talk about that a little bit.
So there's a lot, right? We could get lost in just that one story, but so I can kind of paint the picture for those of you that are listening. I take out maybe $30,000 in debt.
IG, sorry, but we're going to cut it off. We're going to have our full podcast on our YouTube channel, but we wanted to give you guys a little taste. So thank you guys for being on and watching us.
We'll see you in the channel.
Bye.
Yes. So that at that point, right, I had taken out maybe around $30,000 in debt, right? And the sad part is I asked my sister to quit her job. Man, I don't want to get all emotional and shit. But so we asked, I asked my mom, my sister to quit their jobs. I threw in a lot of money. I had a lot of people help out. We had a remodel, so a lot of stuff like that happened, right? And I'm still working at the bank, grinding, working my butt off, making the little bit of money that I was making. But I knew that the knowledge was what was going to pay me long term. So at that point, there was a time where I was just in the garage just thinking like, fuck, why did I take out so much debt? Cool, I'll pay it. But why did I make my mom quit her job? Like my sister, like, I fucked up, right? And then at that point, me knowing that you didn't like the industry, I'm not going to go and ask you and say, hey, can you take out some debt on your side? I know you still have a kid and you still don't know how we are and where we are because, I hadn't proposed to you by then. You're on guard, right? You're still a young mom. That's a long time ago. But yeah, that's kind of how you got involved. You saw that, I kind of like this guy. I think I'm going to help him.
Yeah. And I think it's hard because like, I don't like talking about this because I feel like it brings us back to that point. And I think it brings us back to like, man, like, what are we going to do? Like, it was like a really low point, or like a low point that I saw you in. And at that point, my thought was like, okay, how do I help? Because I felt bad too. I'm like, oh man, like he had this dream. His mom, his sister have a dream. They quit their jobs and now they're like, what are we going to do? Because it didn't work out. So yes. And I think this goes back to like the talk. We didn't really get into this on the couples with money, but, I just knew that in order for people to grow, and it's in any business partnership, life partnership, you have to be willing to put yourself in a risky situation to expand or grow. And yes, it is risky if he took on debt and now we're opening up this restaurant and then now I'm going to take on debt just to keep it going. But I think that even now, like, we leverage each other, and there's times where, and we'll talk about this more like further on, but there's times where you have all the debt under your name and we're leveraging my credit to grow. And there's times where we move all the debt from his name to my name and we leverage his credit to grow. So I don't know if you want to touch on a little bit of that, like how that helped the restaurant grow or how we were able to do that, leveraging money. Well,
there's a few things when it comes to leveraging, right? So especially with the restaurant, or any business, you always need money. And it's crazy because one of the things that I learned when I was working, managing business accounts is it didn't matter if it was a business owner that's grossing 200,000, 500,000, 5 million or more, right? They always had an issue where we need more money. And that's just how business is. You need more money. And, for us, what we knew coming from banking is, how can you leverage? Right. Yeah. And at the end of the day, for us, we were able to understand how the banks look at how they lend to people. Right. Yeah. So that way we can be perfect candidates so we can borrow. So that way we can have enough money to continue to grow. Because in the beginning, we didn't have much money to start. So where are you going to get the money? Or are you just not going to pursue your goal because you don't have money? Right. For us, it's like, no, we'll figure it out. And we've always figured it out. So when it comes to that piece, we were able to kind of, strategically leverage each other's good name, strategically leverage our entity, right? Our business, right? So that way we can get enough funding so we can even open the place. And the crazy thing is, even after when you came on board, it took us almost 1 year to open and we were paying just dead rent for 1 year. And when we opened, we only had $200 just for change to just the register. And we were like, fuck, at least we opened. Yeah. They gave us the permits. Fuck, we'll see what happens next week. And yeah, it's been like 7 years, right? So, that's, again, back to kind of tying into what we said is we were able to trust each other into saying, hey, look, I'll partner with you. I'm already stuck in this boat with you, right? Because you did something that maybe I didn't want to be a part of. Now I'm committing furthermore to be in business with you. Mm-hmm. But let's do these things together like this. Yeah. Everything that we do in finance, let's talk about it because it's going to affect both of us. And if it's things that we both agree that's going to help us grow, we're game for it.
Yeah. So talking about growing, when we got into real estate or mortgages, it was like I feel like, at least for me, it was an easy, smooth transition because we're coming from banking, which we're talking about finances, we're talking about credit, we're talking about mortgages. We're not giving keys at the bank, but we are having those conversations. So I think when we made the move into this industry, it was a smooth move and we hit the ground running with clients and just staying busy. But I know that we made a few big purchases, and let's talk about how we were able to make those big purchases and how we leverage those big purchases to grow our business. So, one of the big purchases was our office. We didn't have a team at that time, but we knew that with my background in management and just managing people, we knew that eventually we would have a team. So we knew that we needed space for that. So we got an office. Right. We remodeled the office to look very professional, to make sure that, if a client came in, they not only saw the professionalism and the nice looking office, but also saw the branding of the companies that we represent, which is Ambiance and the Mortgage Guys. So that was a big expense that we spent a lot of money. And then another big expense was a luxury vehicle. We got an exotic. So talk about, how did we buy a Lambo? Because without going into too much of the detail, but a lot of people might want or eventually would want that type of exotic car. And for us to buy that exotic car, we knew going into it that it did not make sense for our family because we have 3 kids, right? Him and I, 5 of us, and we're buying a 2-seater car, right? But it made sense for our business. So we knew long term, it wasn't going to be a forever vehicle that we would have. But we knew that for that time, it was perfect for our business. So you want to go into that a little bit on our financing and how we were able to do it? And
yeah, I mean, there's so many layers to that question. So let me go into even just getting the car in itself, right? Typically, again, going back to your good name, if you have business or if you have good credit, right? They're still not going to give you a car that expensive. They're just not. Try, go. They're going to say, oh, I'm sorry, you've never financed a car this much.
I think the midpoint that we always get is 100,000, right?
Yeah,
you have to finance something for at least 100,000,
right,
a vehicle.
So for us, again, understanding that if we had an established business, well, now at this point, we had already set up our second company, right? Which is in the real estate business, right? Mm-hmm. So we had already established good credit, good paying history on that end, which again, it goes back to, and we'll go into that later, right? You have your personal credit, you as a person, you're paying on time, while your business, your entity, whether it's a corporation, LLC, it has its own tax ID number, its own EIN number, and its own credit. So for us, getting the car was easy because all we had to show is that, look, these are our bank statements. Look at how much money we make. Literally, that's it. Yeah. You don't have to call anybody. And this is what we want to buy. And here's our credit.
So the LLC that we set up, it was back in 2017 for mortgage and real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And we purchased a car in 2020, right? So that's at least 3 years of having the LLC, having the EIN. Yeah. And you're mentioning right now the financials of the money coming in to show the payment. Mm-hmm. When we made that purchase, at any point, and I already know what your answer is going to be because I already know what you're going to think, but at any point, did you think oh my God, how are we going to make this payment or anything in that point?
It's crazy because what I was thinking, I was like, dude, just a couple of years ago, we were such a shitty situation. I'm like, how can this be wrong?
I feel like every time I talk to you, your eyes get watery. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to look at you.
I know, it's because damn, if you're asking me to think about how I felt in certain times.
Maybe I shouldn't say, how do you feel?
Yeah, I don't talk about my feelings. I'm a very emotional person, as you guys can see. But it was, to me, this is the way I think. If I see someone do something, then why can't I?
Yeah.
Literally.
Who's the person that you saw?
Well, first there's this guy named Alberto Preciado, like standing on Ferraris. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, what the fuck? And then when, but again, to me, my mindset, right, especially when he's one of the people that encouraged or even put that idea there, because it was only a dream. I think he
put the idea, but then once we made the purchase and we FaceTimed him, he was like red. He was like, what the fuck did I tell them? Yeah. But
again, for me, it's more of like we always level up, right? When COVID happened, it was crazy because, we're in the restaurant and there was a day where no one walked in. And I told my mom, like, man, how are other people going to do it? Like, we've been eating shit for years. We'll figure this one out. How are other going to do it? Like, how are they? So when we got the car, I'm like, dude, we got money in the bank. We got this nice car. We're helping people. Rates are low. Like, life is good. Yeah. And so I never had a fear of it, right? I knew that, look, by us doing this move, we're going to get a lot of attention, right? And for me, I know that the attention isn't going to close people. Yeah. I just need the opportunity. And people started giving me an opportunity to earn their business, and we deliver. Like,
and it's funny that you're saying that, because that was our reasoning for getting that car. It was not because it made sense for our family, but it made sense for our business. And we thought, and like we mentioned earlier, is a lot of the decisions that we make, we are thinking growth, we're thinking long term, we're thinking, how is this gonna help us grow, or is it gonna hurt us? And that's how we make the decision. And I know with that car, not that we didn't know what we were doing. We have experience, over a decade of experience in working in finance and helping people. But I think the car gave us the credibility in this new industry that we're in, and it gave it to us quickly.
Yeah.
What did you notice anything from having the car, like a difference in business, a difference in partnerships?
I mean, it's crazy because if you think about it, right, a car should not give you like full trust of me to my job. It just shouldn't, but it does. And it's just the reality. And it's so much easier to approach somebody, or someone's approaching you to earn their business, when you just get that credibility right off the bat. So could you tell? Yeah, it's so easy to tell.
Yeah.
Now, the cool thing is we know what we're doing. You're right. We've been doing it for a long time, that it was an easy transition for us to, number one, deliver great service. Number two, do what's right for our customer.
Yeah.
And number three, deliver it in a way where they're going to be like, wow, I'm going to send everybody to them. My experience was amazing. So for us, that was easy to tell that people, realtors want to work with me now. It's like, oh, where were you at? It's cool. I'll still work with you.
Yeah. And at least for me, like I saw both sides. I saw the luxury of business, because I'm more on the real estate side. I know that you take care of the loan side, so you partner up a lot with realtors, whether they're in part of Ambiance or even outside of Ambiance, helping clients with financing to be able to purchase their home. But for me, I'm the one that helps the client either find the home or sell their home. And I never noticed how the car would help, other than two examples. So one example was I went with one of our newer realtors to show her. She was shadowing me as I was showing property to a client, and I started showing property in like Ontario, like Rancho, like in an area where those cars are not as common. And driving that car, it was like, oh man, there's so many potholes. Like this street doesn't get these type of cars, and there's so many bumps, right? So it was that side, but it was also like the look on either the agent that was hosting the open house, of like, whoa, like, where are you coming from? And just because of the car, yes, we had a great offer and things like that, but I think it also allowed the agent to be like, okay, they must be doing something right. Let's accept their offer. That was the only time that I ever drove the car in that type of setting, just because, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I too much attention I don't like it. So it was too much.
YouTube channel.
Too much for me. But the other time was on the property that we just closed. So a $6.2 million home that we just sold. I know. Yay. But that one, the seller when she walked me out of her house and she saw the car and her daughter was taking pictures of the car, she looked at me, she's like, what kind of car is that? And I'm like, a Lamborghini. But I always say it like, I don't know, I like a little girl, like, just because it's just too much attention for me. And she was like, okay. And I think that made her feel like, okay, you know what? She talks well. She's showing me that not only can she help me, she's able to get it done, but she's bringing a different type of marketing to an industry, because the other agent that she was also interviewing had more of an old school mentality. And she looked me up after I left. She actually told me that she looked up my social media, she Googled me, she looked up my reviews, she looked up everything before making the decision to go with us. But I think that also helped, being especially in that luxury market. So now that we don't have the car, and I don't think we've ever said it publicly,
it's out.
So yeah, we sold the car. It's been a few months. Have you noticed a difference?
Well, everyone that's worked with me already continues to work with me, because again, it's one of those things where if something works really well and whether you had a negative experience or not, right? Why are you going to mess it up?
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I'm doing really well. As far as losing any credibility, I don't think I have at all. The confidence is there in the sense that I know that we can do really good work. But you know what? To me, even though a Lamborghini is my dream car, I'm a very simple guy. So that aspect of things, like, I kind of don't see the difference, because even when we had it, I wouldn't drive it as much because I'm like, I don't know where to park. And then people
getting out of the Starbucks driveway, it's like the
right. But we'll get another one in the future where, it'll be something where it's like, I drive it when I can, or when but what I really do want to focus on is because the biggest thing is, why did we get it, right? Marketing.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the type of marketing we're going to be doing, because we're going to be spending Lambo money, but it's going to be in a different aspect of marketing.
Yeah.
But again, it's back to the basics of, why did we do that? Great. Now next level. Yeah. Why are we going to do that? Great. Next level. All right.
So what made you, or what was like a big reason on why it was so easy for you to say, or for both of us to say, like, you know what, it did its time, it served its purpose, let's move on? Because I know that's something that, tying into money, right? We leverage money to grow. And when something that we're investing in is no longer allowing us to grow, or it's no longer, we're not using it for that purpose, or not driving it as much, or whatever the reason is, right? Then it's easy for us to cut it out and move on to the next. What was, at least for you, because I know I have my reasons, but what was like something that made it easier for you to just be like, okay, let's move on from this car? Because it's your dream car, right? It wasn't my dream car, but it was yours.
Well, from the beginning, like, the practicality, we knew it wasn't there. So the inconvenience of having to swap sometimes cars. Yeah. That was like,
we'll talk about that, because I don't think people would know what that, like, well, not getting into too much detail, but
so we have 3 kids, a 15-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2.5-year-old. And our smallest one, they all go to different schools. Yeah. One in San Dimas, one in Covina, and the other one in La Puente. So it's like, I'm like the magic school bus every morning, right?
All private schools.
So when we had appointments, we have to swap cars. We have to, and that was one big of like, oh, I don't have to do that. Awesome. Right. Yeah. Number 2 is, we talked about the purpose why we did it. It's attention, right? Market shifted. Things are different. Now it's like, it wasn't needed. Right? That's not really what's driving people to come to you anymore, like it was before.
But I also think, like you mentioned, you had already built that credibility.
Yeah.
People were already coming to you. You were getting referrals. People were already responding to you on social media. So the car didn't make a difference. At least that's what I'm hearing.
I personally don't, like, now at that point, the credibility, like we said, it's already established. Yeah. Right? There is no need, right? And it's crazy because sometimes the credibility comes from your own circle, right? Sometimes if you're a new agent, a new lender, new in the industry at whatever product that you're doing, your own family doesn't even want to go to you because they want to see, all right, let's see if they know what they're doing and then I'll go to you, versus them saying, hey, let me give you a shot. Let me help you out. And for myself, that happened really quickly with my own circle of people. Yeah. Where they gave me the opportunity. You started
getting a lot of like friends from high school or people that you worked with in the past job, like the gym or things like that.
And I don't think it was something of like, oh, I don't think he can, or you know, it's just people are just like, well, I don't know. But with that, credibility came like this. And now through word of mouth and just the success and the track record that we do post, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not even a question. Like,
and it's funny because I get a lot of people, even here, like at the company, they're like, wait, we haven't seen it for a while. Like, do you guys still have it? And we're like, no, we haven't had it for months. Yeah. Like,
and I'm cool. Like, I don't like, that's that part. But again, now like the way I'm thinking is, all right, how do we grow? Right? What can we do? And we have stuff coming up. Well, I guess we won't talk about too much.
So let's talk about that because you're talking about growth, right? And future. So we just had one of our biggest months, right? I'm pretty sure in our whole career, it's our biggest month.
In the hardest times.
You know, over six figures in 1 month. And there's a lot of money coming in, right? So what are we going to do with that money? How are we going to go to Vegas, right? Go gamble it all.
All my gambling people. No, well, again, it's very easy to go say, hey, let's go splurge, let's go do all kinds of stuff, but
let's go buy a Chanel purse or
that's crazy talk.
Sounds fun, huh?
Hey. But the biggest thing is our goal is, you know, our business. Like we're doing this because we want to continue to grow. So, you know, for us, right, we're gonna dump a lot of money into marketing, right? We're definitely gonna continue to build our brand, but in marketing where it's very strategic, very tailored, so we can help more people. We are looking to hire 1, maybe 2 people, depending, right? If the person's super amazing and they can do it at all. But again, we're looking to expand because when you have money, and this is the crazy thing. Right now, it's what is it? We're in April 27th, 2023. Right now, crazy times are coming, right? And as crazy times are coming, I
was like, what is Jerry going to say when he gets into these conversations?
So crazy times are coming where time is going to get tougher and tougher. Right? It just really is.
Yeah.
More layoffs are going to happen, right? But when there's opportunity, what happens? Most people can't take advantage of it. So for us, we're looking at as, all right, now that we're getting some cash, right? And keep stacking, let's take advantage of the opportunity because people are tightening it up. People are saying, let me not invest into some of these marketing things that can help, but I'm not putting in the work, or maybe I didn't understand it correctly, or whatever it may be, right? But for us, we're thinking, all right, let's jump back into the business because this is a time where we need to go and execute and we need to capitalize, right? So that's what we're looking to do. We're leveraging that, you know.
So hearing you talk right now, well, yeah, like I know that
you fired up. Just
you went from crying to like, I'm fired up. Like, let's go spend all that. So like, of course, anything, especially when there's like a large amount of money coming in, not to say that our previous months were not big because we've always been consistent in helping clients. And I just always feel like if I meet somebody and if I can help that person, as long as I help them, their money's going to come. It always does. I don't have to worry about chasing the check. The money just comes from all the good that you're doing and, you know, the good work that we're putting out there. So in our case right now, we have 2 businesses or 2 entities, right? And I know that there's a third one that you're considering starting, right? For credit reasons and things like that. But let's talk about that in another podcast. But in this one, right, we have 2 different entities. We have one that's having a large amount of cash coming in. And yes, there's going to be a lot of expenses to grow to the level that we want to grow our team, grow, you know, just production. We want to double quickly. And there's going to be a lot of money that's going to take to do that. And there's also this other business that has money coming in and has a lot more expenses going out. So knowing business, right? Do you ever mix entities money, because there might be people on here that might not know that.
Yeah.
How does that work? And how do you leverage your credit to then, instead of having to commingle, you leverage your credit to be able to do what?
Yeah. So it's really tough to not mix money together, right? Especially when we saw it in business. Yeah. A lot of people do it, and it's really easy to fall into that, right? Because it's really hard. It's like, well, let's just pull it from here. Yeah. And what we're noticing that since we stopped that was, it forces us to say, hey, if this business is going to succeed, well, fuck, make it happen. Don't take away from this that's growing to feed the one that's killing it, right? And, that's one thing. Obviously, you can't commingle money from here to there. Yeah. Because then
for tax reasons,
it's just not going to work. Your account's going to kill you. Yeah. But, that's the other piece. So you said, how am I leveraging my credit? Well, for us right now, we're getting ready, or we're gearing up to submit a loan for the restaurant that's been, more of like taking a lot of cash in. But when you really analyze it, it's hard to put more money into it. But when you think about it and you say, hey, how much interest did we really pay all those years? And that could have easily been profitability. Now we won't have to pay that. Can we still make money? Yeah. Right. And, your question was, how am I doing it? I'm going to personally guarantee with this entity, right, that we can facilitate more capital, right? So that way we can do a couple of things, getting our alcohol license, to increase the revenue. So personally for me, the way I see it is, if I was taking money from this business that's doing really well to feed this one, I'll probably sack off, right? And I'm not going to pick it up. Or maybe
and then it's also going to affect this business that you're taking money, because you're taking money for it to grow, to feed something else.
Right. And it's hard because sometimes you guys, I feel like we can invest a lot of time, a lot of money into something, and sometimes you got to walk away from it. Right.
And at any point, did you ever, or have you felt like that? Because I know there's been times where I'm like, just close it. It's like driving me crazy. It's crazy
because I felt like that a lot. And I felt a lot of times like, fuck, dude, if we didn't do that, if we just didn't do that, right, where would we be right now? But then I think about, man, I'm so much tougher. I have so much grit because I went through all those things, and anything now, I can be down to zero. I'm not worried about it because I used to be negative. I'm cool at zero. Now we're at the point where we're not at zero, or we're not negative. We're again, we're getting SBA ready, right? We're getting some of these tougher loans. And even myself as an experienced lender, I'm reaching out to people that specialize in that field, right? Saying, all right, I had a call yesterday. What do you need? What numbers? What da-da-da? Cool, sweet. I'll get it to you in a week, right? Because if you guys want to play business and get in business, you got to run the real business, right? And sometimes it takes time. I at the bank, I would see people for 20 years killing it and still can't get a credit card because the risk factor of the type of entity
and
they
I think that's common, that we see that there's business owners, not all the time, right? But there are business owners that generate a lot of income, but then their credit is not there. So they're not able to leverage. Or
they're paying a premium, right? Yeah. If you're going to go buy a house, they're the people that are dropping 30-40% down and still have a 10% interest rate, which again, by all means, it's all you. But if you know what to do, I think a lot of people would do it. Yeah. Right. This doesn't mean everyone will, because right now, I am seeing that for people like us that are go-getters, it's not going to get easier, right? We're just going to continue to grow and level up and get better, but there's going to be a lot less competition. And the reason why I say that is average got dropped. Yeah. Average used to be a lot higher than what it is now. Work ethic got dropped a lot. The fear of falling on your face has dropped a lot. People aren't willing to take a chance because they could probably not get there, or it's 50-50. And for us, obviously, coming from banking, knowing that this fails 90% chance the first 5 years, I'm like, yeah, I'm that 10% bitch.
He's the one that's part. I'm that 10%, and I'm like, oh my God, there's 90% ways to fail. Let me think of all the ways and let me figure out a way to make sure we're not that
with
person.
With no money from the beginning. but see, when you build that toughness, now I'm at the point I'm like, oh shit, if we just make a couple moves now, we can probably expand quicker here. But again, regardless, it's two separate things. I don't spend much time with the restaurant. I spent all my time with the real estate. Now I'm going to look at it like that as an investor. If I drop money, I'm still not going to spend my time, but it better yield me a return.
Yeah.
On the real estate is where I get more bang for my buck on my time, right? That's just what it is. And then we'll keep, making moves. And the cool part is we're going to cover a lot more things about money. And one of the things I always like to say is I'm giving you guys advice of where I'm at and from the people that I help and what I've seen.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say is just because I don't have the billions doesn't mean I don't understand and haven't seen that the people that have made hundreds of millions, how they do it, right? What they're doing. And again, I always like to double check whatever I say, hey, try this before saying anything, because honestly, I think there's a lot of good information out there that can help a lot of people. And when you're in business, the three major things that we're looking at is, risk management, protecting ourselves, right? Security. Number two, we want to make sure that, that we're not paying too much taxes, right? That's a big part, taxation, right? Like a lot of people's money goes into tax. As a matter of fact, even just talking about taxes, like how you take in money, we have to understand and know how that works. Because if we're not looking at that, I mean, you can make a lot of money and people do. And at the end of the day, you're still struggling.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think I went on a little rant.
No, but it's true, because I think that we have, and right now we're talking about our own personal experiences, but we do have clients that we come across where it's maybe credit might be in the way, and then we guide them and we tell them how they can increase the credit or things that they can do to then be able to qualify to make that purchase that they're trying to make on the home that they want. But then we also have clients that are making a lot of money, but then the way that they're putting their expenses on their taxes is affecting them from purchasing. And maybe just, and this is an advice that I would recommend, and I'm sure Jerry would say the same thing, is if you're planning on buying a house in the next year and it's tax season, before you go and file your taxes, have your CPA talk to your mortgage lender that is going to help you. And if you don't know of a good one, I have one right here that can assist you. But that conversation can help you better prepare to be able to make that purchase, because as a business owner, the way that you qualify, it's different. The way the guidelines are different than, a regular W-2 employee. Anything you want to add on that? Because I know that it's speaking a little bit on your realm, but it's things that we see from clients that we're helping on a daily basis.
What's up, Albert? So celebrity appearance in the back, Albert Preciado. So one of the biggest things with business owners, the reason why they don't qualify, it's not because they don't make the money or they don't have it. It's just how they're structured, right? How they're showing their income. And again, it goes back into debt, right? Sometimes they don't report enough because they're going to pay taxes, although they have property or assets that they can depreciate to not pay taxes. And I'm not an accountant or tax advisor, but
that's why it's good for the lender to talk to a CPA. And then there's been multiple times when we help business owners where you get on the call with the CPA and you guys kind of brainstorm.
And that's a beautiful part. I'm really confident at what I do. And because of that, I love having conversations with my clients, accountants, and their CPAs. Why? Because we're going to talk, transcripts. We're going to talk, schedules, and we're going to talk, little details that if we can just get on a call and we can share the same goal for the client and say, hey, this is our mutual client. This is their goal. This is what they're looking to do. I've noticed that you've done X, Y, and Z. Right now, this is where their financials are. We're looking to be at X, Y, and Z. Do you think that's something they can do? Okay, yeah, we got them. And then from there, again, we're good to go. Yeah. Now, the biggest reason why most business owners don't report enough, it's not because, people don't want to pay taxes, but it's just because they don't understand the strategic way of legally not paying taxes and still getting the benefit of being able to leverage their borrowing power to maximize their borrowing potential. Because even if it's not for a house that they need to strategize for, if they're business owners, you want to strategize for that, for the growth for that. Especially now when money gets more expensive and tighter. Well, imagine having your cash and then some more working capital so you can leverage on those opportunities, right? That's just whether it's a house or not.
Yeah, man, so much information shared. I know that we'll
narrow it down. Yeah, we'll narrow it down. What we're going to talk about maybe one day is just going to be about,
Well, I know our goal from doing this podcast, a lot of it is more for you guys to get to know us, like the real us, the conversations we have, you know, the things that we go through. Cause I know that I get a lot of questions on like, how is it working with your spouse? You know, I would love my wife to work with me, or vice versa, where a wife's like, you know, I would want to do it, but I'm scared to leave my job. Like, how does that play out for you guys? You know, and yeah, there's times where we argue. It's common, and I think especially when we're with each other a lot, but I think having that respect for each other and knowing that we're both going towards the same goal, so that's one thing that we really wanted to make sure that we touch on this. Money, which leads to everything, leveraging leads to growing, it leads to like being able to purchase things and being able to run the businesses that we're running. So how do you foresee, like, or what would be something that you would say if there's a viewer out there that maybe is like, oh, well, who are they? Why do we want to watch them? Like, what would be one little thing that you can share that our podcast is going to represent, or that we're trying to send a message?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to be very genuine. You know, the cool thing is, one of the things I've seen and that I love about myself too, that I admire, is when I see someone that's really successful come from humble beginnings, it gives it a different level of respect for me, right? Not that someone that came from a wealthy family doesn't, but to me, it helps me relate. So what I want to translate is, I am someone that comes from humble beginnings, but is someone that is continuing to grow and educate themselves. This is where I am confidently to be where I'm at, because I know that tomorrow I'm going to be at another level. And for me, what I want to do is I want to share my best practices, right? And my losses, to help someone out there not make the same loss or have a higher probability of being successful. Because especially, you know, as a spouse, like, I think I really like today, because I feel like we were having a conversation. Like,
we didn't argue because we're like, we're on camera.
But I feel like I want to level up, you know, that love part, right? Because I'm definitely going to level up the business and the money part, but I definitely want to share with the people that see us and say like, oh, that's a cool guy, and he's a great father, he's a great spouse, he's a great provider, a great entrepreneur, a great friend, you know, all of that good stuff. And I think as time goes on, because we're going to be very consistent with it, we're going to drop some gems that can help somebody boost up their credit fast, get, you know, a lot of borrowing power, you know, or even just say, damn, if that fucker can do it, then I can too. Like, who the fuck is that guy? Right? Period. And I think it'll translate through time. I'm very confident. Yeah.
No, I agree. Well, we appreciate you staying on and watching our first podcast that we will do together. We're excited to share and continue to share with you guys. So thank you.
Drop comments and let us know what you want to know about next. You know, we're going to do a couple, I'm sure, you know, it's not the first one, but if there's anything in particular that you want us to isolate when it comes to, you know, being in business with your loved one, when it comes to money, when it comes to credit, anything in general, we'd really love to touch, you know, a little bit on that topic. Share it and follow us.
Thank you guys, and subscribe to our channel so you can get notifications every time that we post our podcast. Thank you.
Bye-bye.